department reports this evening. And in the water department, there's a notation in there, there's 113 fire hydrants out of service last month, and I know that that's pretty, that's taken quite a bump up the last.
To have critical hydrants identified. And the only reason I bring that up is because if the public were to see a hydrant out, they don't know if it's, in going to a member of the public earlier, you don't know if it's a critical hydrant, not a critical hydrant. And I don't know how many feet of hose you could lay from a non-critical hydrant to a critical hydrant. But what triggers, you said when you go out you can see these things, but would it make sense to identify these hydrants so if the public sees something wrong, they can call you? Is there any value in that?
No, there really isn't any value in identifying in a public manner like that. We know which ones are important to us. We've identified certain facilities, certain establishments, and determined which hydrants we would use, which hydrants we wouldn't use in the event of a fire. And that's part and parcel of our process. It's not something that we need to identify in some other way.
Yeah, all of that makes common sense. I mean, the way you go, I mean, it just makes common sense. But my only concern is that you don't know one of those hydrants is out until for some reason you go buy it for whatever reason. And that could be 3 days, 5 days, 10 days. I don't know. Am I right about that?
You may be right in some manner, but the reality is if a hydrant gets knocked over by a car, it usually gets reported, or if something happens to it, the homeowner or somebody nearby reports. It's not a question of hydrants being physically destroyed so much. If we test them and they don't work, that's when we report them, but you wouldn't know if 6 months later or a year later something happened with the valving and it didn't work anymore until we test them again. So there's really no way to denote that.
If a hydrant were leaking,
Okay.
or frozen, and I don't know how you identify these things, how could you be told that prior to you finding that out 5 days or 10 days down the road?
Well, in that particular case, if you're talking about a leaking hydrant, that might be something that somebody could call in, and we do get phone calls like that. Day gets phone calls like that. The hydrant's leaking, the cap's off, or something's happened to the hydrant. We'll get that from citizens. We get it from city trucks. Remember, city trucks, Antonio's trucks are on the road all the time. The police cars, fire trucks. So we actually get pretty quick response to these things. We see them, find them pretty quickly, and the civilians and the citizens actually let us know when there's a hydrant that's not working nearby. Especially if you microphone and put one plug out there. We have snow coming, and I'd like to put everybody on alert that when you do have a hydrant in front of your property, protecting your property, this year if you can get out and shovel out that hydrant, it would be very helpful to us